Last month, Apple released iOS 26 to the public, and while it's easily the biggest redesign of iOS in over a decade, not everyone's been a fan of the new look and feel. But underneath all of that, there are loads of new features, and quite a few that you might not have spotted yet. So in this video, we're going to go through 10 tips, features, and settings in iOS 26 that I reckon you might have missed. Okay, let's get into it. Here's an interesting one for editing your photos in iOS 26. If you open a photo and tap Edit, the photo editor opens up as normal, and by default, the appearance of the editor will follow your system setting. So if your iPhone is in light mode during the day, the editor will be light. If your phone switches to dark mode at night, the editor will switch too. But in iOS 26, you can now set the photo editor to always use light or dark mode, regardless of your system theme. To do this, open a photo and tap Edit, then tap the ellipsis in the top right corner. From here, choose Appearance, and you'll see three options: System, Light, or Dark. So let's say your phone is set to follow a light-dark schedule, but you always want to edit your photos in dark mode. You can set the editor to dark, and it will stay that way even while the rest of your phone follows your normal system schedule. It's a small change, but really useful if you prefer a consistent editing environment, especially for those late-night edits. One of the biggest complaints about the Safari redesign in iOS 26 is that it's added a few extra steps to things that used to be much quicker. For example, if you want to open a new tab, you now have to tap the ellipsis in the bottom right, then choose New Tab. Same thing if you want to view all of your tabs, it's hidden behind that same button. But there are some really useful shortcuts that you should know. First, to create a new tab, just swipe left on the address bar at the bottom. That will instantly open a blank tab, and it's especially useful if you're using the phone one-handed. You can do the whole thing with your thumb. To view all of your tabs, you've got a couple of options. You can swipe up on the address bar, or you can double tap the ellipsis. Both take you straight into the All Tabs view. And lastly, to close everything in one go, this one isn't new, but it is worth a reminder. Once you're in the All Tabs view, long press on the blue tick at the bottom, then tap Close All. Quick and easy. Following on from that last tip, there's actually a setting that you can change that completely alters the look and feel of Safari and makes it much more like the old version. Now, I wanted to include the gestures first because, in my opinion, once you get used to them, they fix most of the new Safari's quirks. But if you're still not convinced and you'd rather go back to something more familiar, here's what to do. Go into Settings, scroll to the bottom and tap on Apps, then choose Safari. Scroll down to the Tabs section, and by default, you'll see that it's set to Compact. That's the new iOS 26 layout where most controls are tucked away behind menus. If you don't like that, try switching it to either top or bottom. The top layout moves the address bar back up to the top of the screen with buttons underneath for sharing, bookmarks, tabs, and so on, more like the classic Safari layout. Or you can go with bottom, which gives you a wider control bar at the bottom that includes the address bar along with forward, back, share, bookmarks, and tabs all in one place. It's actually quite nice on the larger iPhones because it doesn't take up too much space. Personally, I've stuck with the compact version because I'm happy using the new gestures, but if you want something that feels more like iOS 18, this is the setting to change. Your iPhone is great at a lot of things, but recording and transcribing audio honestly isn't one of them right now. And that brings me to today's sponsor, Plaud, and their new Note Pin. It's a tiny wearable AI memory capsule that I've been using to take the pressure off of note-taking. It records what's said, transcribes it using AI, and pulls out key points, summaries, and to-do lists. That way, I can stay present and still walk away with everything that I need. I've used it during client calls and when planning videos. I just talk, then check the summary later. It makes staying organized so much easier. The summaries are genuinely helpful. Clean paragraphs, action points, speaker labels, and once it recognizes a voice, it remembers them next time, which is really impressive. I've mostly worn it clipped to my shirt, but there's also a lanyard and wristband. It's lightweight and subtle, so I don't have to hold my phone or worry about battery life. Because yes, phones can record, but they die quickly, get interrupted by calls, and they just feel awkward. Note Pin solves all of that. It supports over 100 languages, cancels background noise, and gives you clear, accurate recordings. Everything's stored securely with AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, so nothing's sold or shared. Honestly, it's just one of those gadgets that's just slotted perfectly into my routine. If you want to check out the Plaud Note Pin and see how it could work for you, check out the link in the description of this video. In Apple Music, if you go to your library and tap on Playlists, you'll now see a plus button at the top of the screen. Previously, tapping this would let you create a new playlist, but in iOS 26, you can now choose between New Playlist and New Folder. If you select New Folder, you can give it a name, hit Create, and then drag existing playlists into it. So you could organize by genre, year, decade, or even by mood, whatever works for you. It's a really nice way to keep your music library tidy, especially if you have loads of playlists. And while we're talking about organizing, don't forget about the new pinned feature in Apple Music. You can long press on pretty much anything, an artist, an album, a playlist, and choose pin. That item will then appear at the top of your library for easy access. To unpin something, just long press on it again and choose unpin. And here's a final bonus. When you long press on something in the pin section, you'll see an option called Tap Action. This lets you control what happens when you tap on that item. You can usually choose from 3 options: Go To, Play, or Shuffle. So maybe you've pinned a playlist and you always want it to shuffle. Just set the tap action to shuffle. Or if it's an album, you might want it to play in order. It's a simple but powerful way to customize how Apple Music works for you. If you go into the phone app and tap on Recents at the bottom, then switch across to Missed, you'll see a list of all the calls that you didn't pick up. And there's a really handy new feature in iOS 26. If you swipe from right to left on any of these entries and tap the little blue clock icon, you can now set a callback reminder. You'll get quick options like an hour from now, tonight, or tomorrow. And if you choose Remind Me Later, you can even set a custom time. The reminder will be titled Callback followed by the number, and you can just tap it to instantly place the call. It's a really smart way to manage your missed calls without having to leave the phone app. By the way, if you ever watch videos like this and wonder how you'll remember it all, I've created iPhone Essentials Plus. It's my own dedicated training portal with over 150 step-by-step lessons, each with a short video, screenshots, and a downloadable guide. You can learn at your own pace, jump straight to what you need with search, and every future update is included with a one-time purchase. Just scan the QR code or use the link below. I personally really like the new screenshot feature in iOS 26. For the way that I tend to use screenshots, it's a big improvement. But I know a lot of people have found it frustrating and wish they could go back to how it worked before. So just to show you what I mean, by default, when you take a screenshot in iOS 26, it now opens in a full screen editing view. You'll get crop options, markup tools, a share button at the top, and if your phone supports Apple Intelligence, you'll also see ask and search buttons at the bottom. That's great if you know that you want to do something with the screenshot straight away. But if you'd rather just capture it and move on, here's the setting to change. Go to Settings, then tap General and scroll down to Screen Capture. In here, simply turn off full screen previews. Now the next time you take a screenshot, it will behave just like before, showing a small preview in the bottom left corner. If you ignore it, it will save automatically to your photo library with no full screen pop-up getting in the way. Here's another screenshot feature in iOS 26 that you might not have noticed. If you've got the full screen preview setting switched on and you take a screenshot of something with recognizable information, like a date, a location, an email address, or a web link, your phone will now detect that content automatically. If your iPhone supports Apple Intelligence, you'll see these recognized items appear at the bottom of the screen, in between the ask and search buttons. Just swipe across to see what's been detected. So for example, if there's an email address in the screenshot, you can tap to open a blank message. If it's found a street address, you can jump straight to it in Maps. And if it picks up on a date, you can add it to your calendar or reminders in a single tap. It's a great little feature and a really smart way to get more out of your screenshots. I really like the always-on display on my iPhone, but one thing I'm not so keen on is the fact that my wallpaper, which these days is usually a photo of my wife and kids, stays fully visible when the screen locks. Thankfully, there is a new setting in iOS 26 that can help with that. Go into Settings, then tap on Display and Brightness and scroll down to the Always On Display section. Tap into that and make sure Show Wallpaper is turned on because you'll need that enabled for this to work. Then turn on the option called Blur Wallpaper Photo. With this setting disabled, your phone will show the full sharp version of your wallpaper in the background when your phone is locked. But if you enable it, the wallpaper will appear blurred. So you still get the overall look and feel of the image, but it isn't quite as exposed when your phone is locked and sitting on a table. I've talked quite a bit in other videos about some of the newer battery features in iOS 26, things like optimized battery charging and adaptive power mode, but a lot of those are only available on newer iPhones. One feature that I've noticed works on pretty much every iPhone I've updated to iOS 26, including some older ones, is a new charging estimate that appears when you plug your phone in. So here's how it works. When you connect your iPhone to a charger, go into Settings, then tap on Battery. Right at the top of the screen, you'll now see more detailed information about how long your phone is going to take to charge. It will usually give you 2 bits of info: how long it will take to reach 80%, which is your fast charge, and how long it will take to get the rest of the way up to 100%. This is really handy if you're heading out and you want to get as much charge as possible before you leave. Now you can see exactly how much time you've got to top up before you need to unplug. This one isn't technically a brand new feature. It's actually something that Apple removed in a previous version of iOS and has now brought back, but I'm really glad it's returned because there are times when it's extremely useful. I'm talking about the Magnification Loupe in markup. So here's how it works. Take a screenshot, then tap the markup button at the top. Once you're in the markup editor, press the plus button in the bottom right and you'll see a new option called Add Loupe. Tap on that and a magnifying circle will be added to your screenshot. You can drag it anywhere and then use the blue handle to resize the loop or the green handle around the edge to adjust the magnification level. It's a great way to call attention to a specific part of a screenshot, and personally, I'm really pleased to see it back in iOS 26. Now, as a little bonus tip, if your iPhone supports Apple Intelligence, there is another really handy markup feature, and that's the ability to blur out someone's face. Just open the photo, tap Edit, zoom in on the person's face, and then press the cleanup button. Once that's loaded, draw a circle around the face with your finger, and your iPhone will automatically apply identity protection to blur it out. Tap Done, and you're good to share the image safely. That one isn't new, but I wanted to include it as a bonus. So there you go, 10 tips, features, and settings in iOS 26 that I reckon you might have missed. What do you think? Were any of these new to you? Or is there something that I didn't mention that you think should have made the list? Drop me a comment and let me know. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.